Let's go ahead and get started. Today's going to be more of a quick introduction about AI. We're not going to deal a whole lot with definitions and jargon. It's not to become the best AI expert, it's to become an AI expert for your business. My goal for you is to help you think of AI and how you're going to use it as a virtual assistant to help you with things like sales and marketing, customer operations, research, financial analysis. These would be the kind of things that are going to be really helpful directly in your small business. So let's go through some of the primary uses of AI. Number one, it can help you do things faster, more efficient. I can do an analysis of a spreadsheet that might take me otherwise a lot of time and a lot of manual things. So it can make me faster. I can write a paragraph, I can write a paper, I can write all sorts of things, do it faster. It can also give you better quality. So if I have something and I'm like, read this for me and help me edit it or help me put it in this tone of voice, that's going to help me improve quality. And the third thing is it can allow you to do things that you can't otherwise do. So you can do things faster, be more efficient. You can improve your quality, and you can do things that you wouldn't otherwise be able to do. So you can do those, but typically not all at once. If I'm doing things quickly, there's always got to be a person in the system. So let me go to my workspace, which is what we're looking at here, how I have this set up. I'm going to be in extreme because I'm working a lot of my time in AI, but I want you to think about how you're going to use AI for your business as we go along. What are the biggest priorities you have for your business? And then think about how you might set up your workspace. And this is how I have my workspace set up. And I am using Microsoft Edge in this one, but I've just chosen what I wanted to use. You can use whatever one you want. It's more about how you're going to set up your workflow. So for me, I set up all of these groups at the top. So I have my core tools, and this will tell you about how I'm using AI. I'm using images, right? Image generation and editing, video, music, writing. So I spend so much time writing different content that I have a special tab for that, even though I can use writing right there with my core tools. Learning, there's a bunch of things that I'm in the middle of learning, so I set a separate tab for that. Podcast, not doing anything myself on that, but some learning and helping with that. Social media. And by the way, we will have our social media specialist, Ed Troxel, talking a little bit about social media in AI as well. Adobe, I work with the Adobe suite. I have articles, and then demo, which is often when I'm doing things like this. So let me go to the core tools. So one of the other focuses about this is you can go crazy with all of these AIs. If you get an idea of how many tools I've got in my area, this is a little insane, right? Some of these are repeated because I'm in the middle of doing something, but there's a lot of tools here. And there's free and paid versions. And my approach is to use as many free versions or freemium where you have the free level of the tool as possible, and then choose really wisely those few tools that are really worth paying for. And as we go along, we'll talk about that with each area that we cover. There's also general tools. So these are going to be the ones that you're typically thinking of, right? So this is ChatGPT, there's Google Gemini, Perplexity, Anthropic's Claude, and this is another Google thing I've got open there. And then because I'm in Microsoft Edge, I can open over here. I can also open up Copilot, Microsoft Copilot as another option. Just by doing that, I can't open it up in here as well. So we've got all of these different options, which are just general tools. And that means AI tools that I can just feed in a prompt and it helps me. I get a lot of questions about things about AI, how secure, how safe, whatever is it. And you can actually go in and just ask AI. One reason why I like having multiple tools open, especially all these general tools, is because I might try different tools for different things. I might ask two tools to see what I get in response. So that helps me sometimes do a check. And I do find some tools are better than the others. And the other reason for it, why I like having multiple general tools open, again, general tools mean I can ask it just any kind of general question, is because, like I said, some things are better than each other, but also if you have free tools, you will run out of the number of times you can do things. It's going to start giving you errors. It's well, kicking you, telling you you're using your capacity. So I pay for my ChatGPT. Just go to the main screen there. I pay for this version, and you'll see on all the things that I cover over here. I've got a whole bunch of different things going on. I use it for my SBDC work. I have all sorts of different things. I have custom GPTs. I have a session dedicated to ChatGPT, advanced ChatGPT, and we will talk about it as we go along. Google Gemini has really come along in a big way. Google is making big leaps and bounds. And I like Perplexity, especially as an answer engine. So whenever I just want to just throw up a question, it has some really good different options for that. We will come back to these. Like I said, right now, I just want to continue giving you an overview about AI first. So when we say general tools, again, we're talking about generating AI content. This is where I'm working with somebody as my AI assistant. Typically, this is going to be able to help me figure out all sorts of things, even figure out how I'm using all of these other tools. If you notice the last thing I had on here, because we just finished moving to there we go, Zoom recording. There's some different Zoom things I've been talking about and chatting in here because we are using we upgraded our Zoom system. They're asking ChatGPT. It's a lot easier as I'm going through these things to have it lead me along. And you'll notice that I was looking at different systems too for speakers. Check it out. It's pretty cool, right? It gives me some pictures, some ideas of what I might be able to use and what I should be using for this. So all sorts of different options here. Like I said, versus the specific tools, like when we're talking about images, there are some tools that do multiple things, right? I can use ChatGPT for image creation. I can use Google for image generation, but there might be some better tools or dedicated tools for image generation there. Oops, I hit that. There we go. Same with video, music. This should and things like that. There's just tools dedicated to these kind of things. So what I did want to cover today also is help you think about tool setup. Because when, the first starting thing that you should have, if you don't already, is a plan for what general AI tools you're using. Again, this is where I'm calling mine just my core tools. And this is where you'll interface with just any kind of questions. I've got a blank system here. But it's really important because there's other information here that I want to show you about Customize. The settings that you provide for any of the general systems that you're using. Here's Google Gemini. It's going to be under here, settings and help. And where's my information there? Or is it up here? So as I'm logged in there. Let's see. Theme, activity, saved info. There it is, saved info. I have told it information about how I want it to answer as a general rule. I can change this, but anywhere that whatever tool you're using, you're going to want to do this too. Up in here, this is ChatGPT. It's under customized ChatGPT. And I've got the same thing. I use a different name just because I am very cautious about privacy. But then again, I do provide it. I could easily probably figure out who I am. What do I do? What traits should ChatGPT have? So this, I do say what I am. I do marketing and AI for small to medium businesses. I teach the AI-Lunchbreak. I offer training through the Small Business Development Center. I have a consulting company. I haven't put that in there. I need to put that in there as well, where I help with online marketing and such as well. What traits should ChatGPT have? I want to tell it about how I want it to talk. Also, for those of you who are using ChatGPT, you might find it very sycophantic, right? You're always the champ and you're doing everything so well. So you can take it, so I can instruct it how to be different. And here, what I'm saying is when I present, I don't play the role of a passive assistant. I want you to sharpen my thinking. And I'm telling it how I want it to respond. I wanted to stress test my logic for gaps and weaknesses. There was a really good article just that helped me redo mine to rethink this lately, which was very fabulous. I'm wondering if I can include it as something to follow up with. Because we're getting into a lot of other things. I tell it that US dollar should be the currency, so it doesn't give me other information. I don't want it to be argumentative. I just want it to be thinking about what it's doing. So whatever tool you're using, giving it some instructions about how you want it to respond can be really important. And it will, otherwise it's starting with a blank slate each time, and that's not helping anybody. And I also added some additional information down here. And the main thing is I have it enabled for new chat. So all of this, whenever I start anything, it's going to know. And then you just save it off. I didn't change anything, so it didn't see that. But here, like I said, settings and help. The other ones have this as well. So depending what you're using. I use ChatGPT. I do the paid version. I find it's worthwhile. Like I said, my approach to free versus paid is that choose some definite free options and then choose your paid options very wisely. What you should do before you get any further with this whole series with AI is start writing down all the things you want to do and prioritize them. I don't know anybody who can't benefit from a general AI assistant. So like I said, so ChatGPT, Gemini, Perplexity, Claude, all of those are good, really great options. And like I said, I use these ones as free versions, and this is my paid version. All right. So besides that, so once you have everything set up, this leaves me a great working space to start doing what I want to do. And what you'll see here here are some of our options. I can tell it specifically to search the web. So if I want to make sure I have current information, theoretically, it should be smart if I say, can you provide me with events happening in Solano County in I don't know, in June 2025. Hopefully it can find those things without having to, it should know to go out to search. But sometimes if it's not clear, you can indicate for it to search. The other thing is deep research, and you'll find this also on Perplexity here. So we have choose a model, sources for search, and there's academic, which is what I also use. So there's web, this web is on right now. This can go into social, and academic is going to be more similar to a kind of a deep research. And this is where it really gets out and it looks for huge information. I've done some really large searches, a lot of times about things like health, right? Having a friend who's diagnosed with something, gone out and done massive amounts of research. And this plus using the academic search can be really helpful. If you want to do industry research on your business, find out if there have been any big industry papers about, let's say, the trends affecting your business and things like that. These places can be really good. Otherwise, the web, you'll get how good is the quality going to be? You can definitely find out about what people are saying, what's currently going on. That's the place for that. But the things like the academic and deep research are going to give you much more deep results when it's appropriate. And here's things like create image. I can do that here. I would never, I've used it before to create images, very mediocre in ChatGPT. So I don't use it for that. I usually just simply put in prompts for what I want and have other ways of using that. One thing to do is if you're just working directly in this, and let's say I have a question and I'm talking about a business that I'm doing a little bit of research on a business that I'm having. Oh, and then I'm going ahead and figuring out what I'm doing for lunch and I want a recipe. If I'm working without being in something, and by in something, I mean custom GPTs or projects, which I will get into later, not this session. Click a new chat and start a whole new one so that it's not, because what's going to happen is that you're having a conversation, and this is one of your best practices. Have a conversation. If you're doing that research for your business, keep asking questions. Let it be a dialogue. have that, okay, what do you think about this? Could you do more? We use one of my favorite examples, which is a cheese shop. Let's say I'm doing investigative work about cheeses and I get a report, and maybe I want to know what about goat's cheeses? How many goat's cheeses are being created in Northern California? And we can start getting into more details. What about break down by the kind of animal milk? And what about plant-based cheeses? What other things are being made here and stuff like that? So we can go all that kind of way into a conversation. And so view each new session that you have as a conversation. It should be contained. And if you just start getting into other things, it's seeing this as a conversation. So it can sometimes hold, it can hold information that you've been talking about, and that can be awkward. Moreover, it's helpful because, and I don't know that this doesn't this in the free version, but in the paid version, you have your information here by dates, right? So I can go back to something, connecting ideas, Trello, alternatives to Google, looking up that. And I can go here and I can actually pick up with the same conversation and we can keep going. So it's very helpful to think about it that way. Think about it as, okay, each one of these is a contained conversation. And when I'm ready to move on and talk about something, I can just hit new. And I still can come back and find these things. Again, this is probably a paid thing. Here are some of my Gemini things. Does remember those too. And this one's a free version. I was talking about some green AI and different things like this that I was getting into. Great conversation. We can go ahead and continue this conversation too. Fabulous way of reacting. Okay, let's see what else I want to cover. Setting up your space, making sure you're using any of these tools, whatever tools that you're using them correctly. And I'm not going to go into the versions. I would say for now, let everything be default, but make sure that you've got everything customized that you need to be, any kind of settings. Visit this before you start. Don't just jump into this. Always get into here to plan what you're doing. Get into your settings. And there's my personalization right there, right? And I might make some other thoughts about settings as well, notifications. These things aren't too important right now. It's the personalization that I'm especially concerned about you having. Even though there's some personal things that you're sharing, don't share any severely personal stuff. I talked about my job and what I do. That's not like I'm hiding major information. It's because that's how you're training AI to interact with you. All right. So let's go on next to talking a little bit more about some, again, the other uses. I think you can see from my tabs, like I said, there's a whole bunch of things. And this is great because you get to see all the things I've got open, all the crazy stuff. But image generation, we'll have a special session on that and we'll talk about, so you can actually just completely generate images in AI. You can take existing images, you can remove the background really easily, you can rework them in AI so that you can create new things. So it's a really excellent way of also working. Video, again, there's tools to do everything from helping you to create video. So create completely from AI, completely generated video and put them together. They're still coming along quite a bit. And then to build the video out, a simple tool that I use is Canva. Canva is probably one of the top tools. You will hear me a lot through this whole course say that having a main AI tool such as ChatGPT, and that will be the one I will cover most because it's what I use, and Canva for a lot of your marketing as being, that can probably hit like the 80% of what I need to do as a marketer. So again, the video, music, which now I can start creating music. I can take that over and add it to my videos, for example. I can add it to other places. Writing, like I said, I do have this separate, even though you see ChatGPT, and it's just because I've got some specific tools I've created for writing. You can you can do things like upload your brand guidelines and be able to create content in your AI assistant. So once you can do that, it's pretty amazing, right? Because now you can have everything in your own voice. I'm training a specific way for AI to be interacting with me. And those are the main ones I'm going to cover right now. Social media, I'm not going to cover that because we will have another dedicated day for that as well. But there's still a bunch of other uses. What I don't have up here is financial, and there are great tools for financial analysis. I do sometimes create things like my spreadsheets, or I create, let's say I have an old system in QuickBooks and I want to do some serious analysis. I just create my financial, so I might create my income statement and upload it and have it do the analysis for me. So I can figure out all of that kind of stuff that. So how do you, again, I want you to think about this for a minute. How do you want to use AI? You can do image creation, video creation. You can think about functionally, but also think about how other operations. What about using things for customer service? Are you interacting with customers a lot? How might you use it if you're running a website and need to do search engine optimization? Other operational things. What about things like email management and summarization, scheduling automatic email? There's some really great help with email. It's a data analysis, having a writing assistant. So this would be your starting places, figuring those things out more than anything. All right, I know that we're getting almost at time, so I'm trying to make sure. So we'll get in here and anything that that I'm going to write in here is going to be a prompt. We will talk a little bit more about that next week because writing a good prompt is half the job, right? You choose your tools and you figure out how you're going to work in all of this. But until you can write a good prompt and know exactly what you want, you're not going to get great results. Your great results are going to come from first personalizing it like we did today, choosing your tools, personalizing them. When, again, this is especially for these general tools, and then creating good prompts. And we'll do that each week as we go along and we talk about whatever the topic is of the week. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing and just talk a little bit more about a few last points because we're almost at time before we get to Q&A. So first of all, privacy. And that is, as you do all of these things, I want you to think about being cautious with sharing confidential information. Don't go putting any kind of sensitive information into this. Even if I've had sometimes a little bit more sensitive information, I've masked it. So if I had, let's say I was going to do an analysis on some employee records, I'd be very cautious about that. So I might rename information so it's completely masked. So nobody who was seeing it could be figuring this out. So there are ways of doing that, but just know, don't upload sensitive information. Don't upload your social security number. Don't upload things that you wouldn't want to be out there publicly. Number two, you've probably all heard about hallucinations, and they absolutely still happen. Oh gosh, there was one I just heard about this morning, and it was rather humorous. It was about, oh gosh, I can't remember because it was with a company, with an AI company, and somebody had released information out there. I just can't think of it. Anyway, you have to there has to be a person involved. So just because you can create all of your blog posts on AI does not mean you should rely on that. You can help create the ideas. You can create the original post. Okay, I want to go with this idea. Help me start putting an outline together for this. This is how I do these workshops. I come up with ideas. And a lot of times I already have those in my head because I'm using it. And then I have a whole system set up to help me create an outline. And then I go through it and there's a back and forth. I don't know that it saves me any time, but it comes up with ideas that I wouldn't have otherwise think of. Think again about those three things. You can be more efficient, you can have quality, and you can do things you wouldn't otherwise do. But all three together doesn't work. You know, that you're giving up one. If I just make things more efficient, getting that quality is hard. I still have to be involved. So just think about that. And another question as we're going to go along for is, do you own it? When you create new information, you can create new images. There are issues of copyrights, and we'll talk about that as we go to things like images and things like that. All right. And one more thing before we get to Q&A, I just want to also bring up is mediocrity. If we are all creating using AI for things like our blog posts, for things like our emails and everything that we're going to do, we're all going to start sounding the same if we don't watch it. Doing this in a very controlled way and always having your personal input is going to make the difference.